You're listening to the Bella Italy podcast.
Hey guys, we are back around again. Anthony and Brian and Anthony coming at you. Bella Italy podcast. We are back. Season 5 is coming at you.
Nice.
This is the most amount of white that I have seen in your beard ever. And you're filling it out. I mean, you're not quite to Santa Claus.
Is this going to be on YouTube?
It's not quite to Santa Claus level, Baba Natale.
Can I explain what happens? I mean, people like our rapport, so let me say what happens. We're moving houses, right?
Okay.
And in my infinite wisdom, I wanted to get out front of the game. So I boxed up all my razors. I boxed up all my cleaning utensils. Obviously, my head. I usually shave my head. Can't find it. So now this is what you get. And I'm actually going in for a nice head shave and a beard trimming on Friday because I go to Italy on Tuesday. So I want to look kind of representing the company. But if you ever saw what I'm wearing, I have a pair of sweatpants from Costco on that have holes in it, and I have this shirt on. So it's not really a match. And so I'm living out of 2 drawers in my house, and I'm a little stressed. So I'm looking forward to this call. Thanks for pointing out how I already feel, Bri.
It's homeless.
I already feel insecure. I really feel, and this is going to be on YouTube. This is not my normal look. I'm very handsome, actually.
Slow it down, let it breathe. Take the corner, walk with me. No flash, no rush, just taste and see. That's the Italy I need. Bella Italy, stay with me. Pane, vino and a slow sunbeam. Bella Italy, vicino a me. I want the light, not the me.
We're so happy to be back in the office, away from the office, in the studio here. If you guys have not seen our, what did we put it, YouTube video a couple of weeks ago, we did a little preview of this season to talk about it, just to talk about, what are we not going to get into, what are we going to get into, that kind of thing, just to kind of prime the pump a little bit. And, so we did the top 10 reasons to not go to Italy. And that was pretty fun. We had
not many people are doing that, Bri, by the way. I don't think any podcast is saying, hey, don't go.
It's so counterintuitive.
Shocking.
We're against the stream here. We don't do anything by the book.
Brian's moving out of Italy. He's moving to Portugal. No, I'm kidding.
I tell you, don't ever go back. I'll never go back. No, we love it. So we went into a podcast episode that is, it's kind of the primer, the first one of the season here, and we did get into a little bit of the theory, I guess, and we talked a little bit about the history of travel and how people have traveled over the eons and millennia, and which comes down to us, and it comes down to the modern inclination for consumerism. And this is something that we're actually kind of fighting against. And you may think, well, wouldn't you? You've got Italy with Bella, a for-profit business behind the podcast that is geared towards sending people to Italy. It kind of preys on that inclination to consume and to have a bucket list and to go after all your top 10 stuff. And so why are you guys coming at it from the other way? It is a little bit counterintuitive, but I tell you, this is the thing. This is the Achilles heel of the travel industry.
It is
that we become consumers and we don't enjoy. And I think that's where we want to take you in this season 5.
And the big thing for me is, Brian, when I talk to a customer on a free consultation or client on a free consultation, it's not about selling Bella. It's about selling Italy the right way and wanting to come back. A lot of people, they want to go to Italy because next year they're going to London. The following year they're going to China. My thinking is, no, Italy is so much more than the 3 cities. We're going to talk about that, or some of the ideas that we're going to talk about today. It's more or less every conversation is about don't make it a bucket list conversation. So I'm excited about this series, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just to give you a heads up, that is kind of a core theme in this season. Last season, season 4, we talked a lot about how to traveling well in Italy for your benefit, for the benefit of Italy, and of course a struggling country like Italy that has its economic problems. Of course, when they see an uptick in tourism, they get excited and they want to encourage that. It does have an impact, though, on the local culture. We'll be talking about stuff like this because why do you have tourist traps? Because they start catering to tourists, the palates of tourists, which changes the local traditional food culinary scene. It starts to prey on the consumer, and it becomes this tug of war back and forth between the consumer who comes over as a tourist, not a traveler, and the country that caters to it and becomes full of tourist traps it's this facade. It's shantytown. It's just lights and glitter and glam, but nothing real. And that's what we're about. I'd say if anything that this podcast wants to do and what Italy with Bella wants to do is show you the real Italy, have an authentic experience. Maybe that means off the beaten path. Maybe that means going to those, let's call them bucket list locations, but doing it in a way that's not abusive to you as a traveler or to the local economy, the local environment. Yeah, if that's possible.
Yeah, it is. And the thing is even I sent over an article, 2 weeks ago about Naples. I mean, you and I would talk about Naples during COVID, and we could bring tourists here. This is where people have to go. And now they're saying, what do they say? Naples is dead. I forgot the actual line.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow. And now we're already shifting in Naples where we would just shift in Rome, Venice, and Florence.
Right.
So it's an interesting, how saturated Italy has become and people still wanting that real experience. So good.
Well, and that the whole point of that article was you go to the Spacca Napoli, you're going down that promenade or the corridor, wall to wall people. You can't breathe or really. I've been there even in December for you look at the nativity scenes and all that, and you cannot move. It's so difficult to navigate. And what they're talking about in that article was it's even hard to find a local Napolitano in that area anymore because it's all built up around the mechanism of tour. And we've talked about that. Italy is in some sense Disney for adults, and there's an appeal there.
Yes.
But the problem is it's saturated in about 1% of the country, and there's 99% that people never see or never experience.
And that's what happens is you talked about the economy, and Italians said, like, all right, I can't sell this place. I'm going to Airbnb it. So now people are not living on that street, the tourism, because they're just Airbnb it because that's what Americans or tourists want to be.
Right.
So it's like a vicious cycle in that sense.
Yeah, you're going in and out of these apartment buildings, these condominiums now that used to be 100% Italians, and now you hardly bump into one. And maybe it's just
the guy managing it.
Yeah, it's the proprietario who comes by to check on things and do some maintenance or something. Other than that, you're shoulder to shoulder with other people from other cultures, and that's funny, fine, but it's not a real experience. They're all here for the same thing, and you go get in the same line and the same restaurants, the same tours, the same everything. And that's that oversaturation. So guys, this is just a taste of what we're getting into on this season of season 5. We are going to get into specific itineraries, where to go, what to do, what to see, but we want to talk about how to do it as that is something really near and dear to our hearts. So let's jump in. All right. In this episode, we're going to talk about how to get beyond. And I didn't want to say just destroy the bucket for the bucket list, It's so hard. I mean, when you go to a country that we've never been to before, maybe just once, you're excited to go back. What do? You look at the top 10 stuff. You look at the TripAdvisor. You look at Google reviews. You look at places. Where does everybody go? What's the appeal? Why should I go to Rome? You go to the Colosseum. You go to the Forum. Why should I go? You want that Instagrammable moment, so everybody flocks to Pisa, for example. That becomes the bucket, and we understand that. That's this necessary urge, and just the way that the mechanism works. You wouldn't want to just go to a famous city and not see what's famous about it. People do that all the time, going from Italy, coming over to the United States, right? I mean, that's the same mentality.
Yeah, I agree. And it's even when, I'm an expert, you're an expert at Italy, and I don't know how to traverse Paris. I don't know how to traverse Lisbon, and I'm thinking, like, I went to Paris and I'm like, I saw all the Eiffel Tower,
how could you not go? How could you not go?
But I was underwhelmed. Surprisingly, I was underwhelmed. I think it's because of my mentality of building trips or talking about Italy and avoiding those big points. I'm looking for local stuff, and I had a really, really difficult time. So I understand the mentality of what you're saying and of the people that are traveling. So I put myself in their shoes and I'm like, it is kind of difficult to find a real experience in a major city in another country that I'm not an expert at or I'm not familiar with the culture, so good point.
Yeah. And Italians do this all the time. They come to America. Where do they go? They go to New York. What do they see? Well, it depends on the films that you've seen. You Sleepless in Seattle, right? Or something. I don't know.
There, but yeah.
Something. No, not Seattle. But I'm saying you go to New York and you go up the Empire State Building and you're hanging out. There's just this kind of nostalgia.
Watching Elf.
Yeah, you watch Elf and you want to go pick gum off the subway rails. But all of that's normal. All of that's like embedded in the culture of consumerism. We've consumed film. We want to go see what's famous. We go to those places expecting, to have that. Or Instagram now. Instagram is replacing, TikTok is replacing film to some degree, and it's creating that hunger, that urge, that necessity to go and do and see what you saw somebody else do.
I have a couple of anecdotal stories. Actually, one this week. It was an older gentleman who doesn't do social, doesn't post, but he watches TikTok, right? So he gets on the call with us from Houston, good guy, and the family wants to go. And he's like, all right, now I have a list of these things on TikTok. And he gave me the list and went awful. And he's like, but that's what I like about you guys. You're truthful. But he put in his list, Venice, Florence, Rome, Amalfi. And that's what you're talking about the Italians. And I always say to them, let me ask you something. When I talk to Brian and his friends or go out to Italy and meet my friends and partners, you want to come? Have you been to America? No. Where do you want to go? And they say, like you just said, New York, L.A., Las Vegas. Miami for the beach, right? But if you would ask them, and they go, well, why not go to Boston, where where the actual independence and where all came out, and Philadelphia, or even Maine for if you like certain kinds of food. And they're like, yeah, you're right. He goes, I didn't think of that. He goes, we don't know. All we know is what we see, and that's what customers normally say. Exactly. And the Italians are the same way. They see the lights of Vegas. They see movie in Hollywood of Los Angeles, and of course, New York is New York. But New York and Rome to them is the same, not the same, but you know what I mean. It's you have to go to New York. I even agree. If you're going to go to America, you got to go to New York. I mean, it's not like you're going to avoid it. It's like going to Italy and not going to Rome. It's the same thing,
Right. Yeah, and we have this really tiny window that we look through. It's like looking through a keyhole to get a perspective on a very large country. Talking about America, and so we try to offer to our Italian friends that come over a little bit larger view. Why not Nashville for music, or why not we start offering some alternatives. Oh, I never thought about that. Oh, that's a great idea. Oh, wow, and it opens up some. And I think that's what we'd like to do about Italy is kind of open up.
Well said.
And maybe that needs to become, and we're just kind of spitballing here, but maybe that needs to become, hey, if you like this, you ever see those recommendations? If you like this music, or if you like these jeans, or if you like this, then you may like like this over here? And we can get into that on this this season. If you like Rome, why not think about and offer some, a substitution that is not just wall-to-wall traffic, depending on the time of year you come over. And look, I don't want to dissuade anybody from going to, I think everybody needs to go to Rome. I love going to Rome. I went through a little bit of a love-hate season, but I'm back where I really do enjoy Rome. But you've got to, the cheese continues to move, and you've got to know where to go, what to do, and when, and it becomes the challenge for us. But we don't want to destroy the bucket list or the bucket itself, but we want to get beyond the bucket list. And so I want to challenge us to go a little bit deeper into Italy. That little keyhole perspective that a lot of Americans have when they come over to Italy sees those big names like you just named. All right, I want to do Venice because I've got to have my picture in the gondola. I want to do Rome because I want to be in front of the Colosseum. I've got my pictures too of those things. I've probably never looked at them again after I took the photo, but I've got it. And then I think, well, what did it actually do for me? Or how did it help me? Did I even enjoy the moment? No, it's a little stressful to get there and take that dadgum picture in front of all those people. This person's in my way.
So you actually did a gondola ride? I will make sure we tell it on the team call on Friday.
I will confess that I have never taken a gondola ride. I have taken a picture with a gondola in the background.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. When I was young and naive and inexperienced.
Dang it. I thought I had you.
Never done it. Okay. Never done it. I may do it
How
one
about
day.
one of these? You have one of these at Pisa?
Holding up the leaning tower so it doesn't fall. Yeah, I've never done that.
We'll get you. Okay.
We'll find some dirt on you. This is getting really political.
Okay.
But we want to get into, and so we're going to do this little micro series here of a couple of episodes talking about things like this because we feel like this is really going to help set people up for success, to change their thinking before that next trip over. Then in kind of part 2 of season 5, we're going to get into a little bit deeper in the itineraries, taking you to some of those suggestions. If you liked this, you may like that kind of stuff, and get you out into the 99% of Italy that most people never see. Now, part of the top 10 reasons to not go was that fear of missing out, keeping up with the Joneses, and we kind of turned the table at the end of that episode, or the YouTube that we did, talking about, look, if you went and took a picture of something that nobody else in your family or friends or your circles have ever seen about Italy, you have a special experience that nobody else does. If all you're doing is following in the footsteps of everybody else and their mother who went over to Venice, and you got in a stupid gondola and you paid an outrageous amount, and you had that photo, now you can say you did what everybody else did. How is that in any way enjoyable or even special? And so if we can get you at least considering that may be an option, going to the 99% of Italy that nobody else has seen, then we will have succeeded this season. Yeah. This is from the 2024 Tourism A study, found that foreign visitors coming into Italy stick to just 1% of Italy's territory. And so when we talk about you just seen 1%, you have not seen Italy yet. We're not it's not hyperbole. It's not exaggeration.
I thought it was. I thought you were making it up. I'm like, really? 1% seems really.
We're not making this
crazy
stuff up, yo. We are on.
What have we seen? We've seen 5. I don't even know how much we've seen then. I thought we saw a lot. Jeez.
And here's the problem is that to deal with the saturation in that 1% of Italy's territory, what does Italy do? They begin to introduce tariffs and fees to help control that, but also to profit
Make money
from that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so we've seen that in various places all over, from Venice to Florence to on the Sorrentine Peninsula. We're talking Amalfi and Positano. We're seeing those kinds of limitations, daily influx limitations, fees. We're seeing, Positano fills up every day. But, from the hours of 10 to 4 p.m., it fills up more than double the local population. Mm-hmm. And so you can imagine the ebb and flow there and the problem that creates. Positano becomes just it's a carnival. It's just smoke and mirrors, because it's really just catering to that swell during the day. We encourage people, if you have to go to Positano, stay there overnight and see at least a shade of something more real when the majority of that tourism, factory, the mechanism goes away, the last ferry leaves, and it's a little bit more serene. It's a little bit more real, and you might actually have a conversation with a local that it leaves an impression, and something to enjoy. And I think that's what misses out.
I totally agree.
Yeah,
we had a lady telling a friend that she couldn't even raise her arms up to take a picture because people were bumping into her. She couldn't. She had to have. That's how crowded it was in Positano over the last couple of weeks. But Brian's spot on. Most of the times we do customers, we do them, hey, go in the afternoon, enjoy the late afternoon at night, have a dinner, and then come back late at night, but enjoy that. But that's obviously strategy more than the bucket list, too. You're still getting that bucket list, but there's a strategy around it.
Yeah, yeah. And, here's the other side of this is maybe you have to just say that you've been there and done that. That's fine. But if everyone wants that same picture, if everybody's doing it, you're going to see just a line. You're going to see the queue, not the view that you were there to appreciate. And so we go to, okay, well, what's behind that then? What is it that you're really wanting? You don't know how long that person who has that beautiful Instagram shot waited there so that the crowd wasn't in their way. It wasn't raining. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. To get that shot, they put that like this is the everyday experience. And that may be getting in the way of you actually coming over and enjoying something. And for example, instead of going to Florence and doing the 2-hour line outside of the Duomo, maybe consider going to Lucca, right down the road, and walking along the walls, or doing an e-bike tour or something like that, eating a gelato without all the crowds around. So let's pause here just to ask this question. Is what we're saying, and you deal with clients on calls every day, is what we're saying, is it even possible to have that conversation with people and at least, if not turn the direction, at least tweak it and modify so that they're going to have a much more enjoyable trip than just hitting that top 10 list that they had?
It's a great question. So what happens is, if you get a client, we could do a free consultation, and we do a Zoom call or whatever if we try to do face-to-face. They do have the major cities, and it's not just TikTok, right? It's not just Instagram. It's movies, just like an Italian watches an American movie, and it's also their friends and family who might have went 8 years ago to Positano. Positano was a lot quieter 8 years ago or 6 years ago. So you have a triangulation sometimes for someone. So what happens is all right, you'll have the person that wants a real experience, doesn't like crowds, but has to see Rome. So that's where, you take into consideration our expertise. All right, let's look at neighborhoods. So you have to really dissect what they really want, even if they're not going to leave outside of that bucket list. Yeah. If they're not going to, all right, I'll take Venice off because listening to you and what I really want on the trip, probably Venice, because we really want to, get those experiences in other areas of Tuscany or Emilia-Romagna, or even up in the lake regions, right? All right, you have to pull it out. Why do you want to go? and they don't know. A lot of times they don't know. So it's about having that back and forth discussion. What do you want? Do you like art? Well, not really. Do you like to be on the water? Well, we live on a lake. This happens all the time. We really don't have to be on the water. So it's a back and forth. But the biggest thing is to really draw out, why Rome? Do you want to know about the Roman Empire and history of Rome and the food? Obviously, we're not going to pull you out of there. Okay. Yeah. But we're going to try to get you in other neighborhoods that, you're telling me you don't want to do the TikTok video. You just want to see what's in the TikTok video, but you don't want to live in the crowds. So that's kind of what you pull out of these conversations. It's like, we love Rome. You and I are in Rome 6 times a year. But guess what? I'm not going to be sitting near the Trevi Fountain. That's the thing that people say, well, Brian and Anthony love Rome. No, Brian and Anthony love Rome, but they're not sitting where you are, right? They're sitting in Testaccio or, some other neighborhood where we're just chilling, So, and then when we want it. So that's kind of, you have to pull that out. We can give you Rome, but we're not going to give you the Rome that you see on television. I guess that's the best way to put it.
And, so here's a strategy. Let's be super practical here. I want to make sure that we get down into some nitty gritty and not just all fluff. What we're trying to, pop the balloon or tip over the sacred cow of seeing it all in one trip. I want to fly into Venice. I want to see Florence, go Rome, go south to Amalfi. How many times have we heard that on one trip, you're 2 nights in each place, and if you have 2 nights, that means you have 1 full day in a place.
Yes.
That's a minimum requirement, okay? But 1 full day, and if you do a tour on that day, which we recommend, our own tour guides, but if you do 1 tour, you really have half of a day to just wander around and experience and enjoy. And that is not enough time. It's just not.
No, it isn't. Yeah, and it's funny you say that because we have an Instagram page, right? And I'll go on the Instagram page and it'll be Rome Travels or some expert. And here's the perfect 10-day itinerary. And it's like 1 day Venice, then the Verona for a day, come down to Florence for a day and a half, then go to Lucca for the day, enjoy this. But I'm like, oh my gosh, they got these. But these people, I think, they plan it according to what these people are saying because they're experts, supposedly. And there's just a blogger who left it. If you go to the next page, they're doing Florence and they're doing Portugal.
Some other country, Right.
Exactly. So, you can do the 10 days, but we're going to really ask you what you want. I mean, to be honest with you, we don't do more than, we'd rather see you do 2 cities in 10 days, max 3, and use it as a base. But you need to really think about taking if you're going to do Venice, Florence, Rome, and Amalfi in 10 days, either you need to extend your trip and your budget, or you need to look at, all right, what can come off of this list and why? Because believe me, the best experiences is when you can saturate a city for multiple days and understand the city. And that's why cruise, I'm not bashing cruises, sorry, but I never understood the cruise thing when you go to Italy for 6 hours and, you park in, I'm sorry, I'm getting on a tangent here. You park in Livorno, with the boat, and it's an hour and a half to Florence. You're there for 4 or 5 hours, and then you're going to get back on a boat to go eat boat food when you were just in Florence. And you could have dinner in Florence. So these are the things, it's no different to me. A half a day in Florence getting off a boat, or a half a day because your itinerary from you built is a half a day with a tour, So
maybe it just feels so jet set. It feels so posh and elite.
That's a good point.
I had lunch in Florence today. The next day I was here. The next day I was there. Like, you have your own private jet. How much did you enjoy it? How much did you actually experience? And you clicked 100 different photos during the day. Did you actually see it with your own naked eyes and drink it in? Seeing it all in one go means you really see nothing at all. We're really talking about coming in line with Italy. We're talking about slowing down and seeing the 99%. It means that you have to slow down, though. It means that you're going to have to edit that list a little bit. Maybe you do Rome and one other place, but while you're in Rome for the 3 or 4 nights, and you're an enthusiast for Roman history and culture, get out of the city. go look at Ostia Antica, and have an experience without the crowds, actually get to walk through the ruins and not just roped off areas you're looking from 30 yards away. Immerse yourself. Go beyond just the bucket. Have your bucket list. That's fine. I've got to go to Rome one day. Great. Come over, slow down, spend time, see what's around there, and not just that little, that little kilometer that everybody else and their mother has to walk when they're there.
Well, the other thing, Brian, is what happens is, and maybe it was the same for me with Paris, is if you're only there for 2 days, you're like, I don't like Rome, because you don't know it. You don't understand it. You don't know the neighborhood. You don't know, you haven't been to Tivoli. You haven't been to the seaside. You haven't been to the smaller neighborhoods. So what happens is I'll get on a call, and they're like, they've already got in their mind, they're planning Rome, Florence, Venice for 10 days. That's 3 cities. And I can't get them past, all of a sudden they do maybe a pizza making in Rome, and then they do a Vatican, and maybe they do something else. So what happens there, you're at 2.5 days, and they're like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of here. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, some of the stuff you want to do and see is still here. Don't leave, and that's tough, because what I'm hearing out of their mouths is different than what they're planning sometimes, right? Rome, you can do Rome for 10 days, and still not see anything. But, we're not going to do that, obviously, on a 10-day trip. But you really need to look at, all right, I didn't realize I'm going to be in Rome for 4.5 days. Okay, the rest of my trip, let's look at Florence for 4.5 days, and maybe from there we'll do Tuscany, and that's my 10 days, and that's it. It's tough. It's tough to get that train of thought and that FOMO, and I don't know when I'm going to be back, so I have to do it.
Planning is always perfect in its, when you're writing it down on the paper, on the pad, and you're imagining where you could go, what you could do. But then in the execution, a lot of times there's a disparity. It doesn't match up. Part of why that is because we have a tendency to over plan. I love to plan. I'm a planner. I love to plan, but sometimes we over plan, or we plan wrongly, and so we
stuck to it,
plan too much, and we come away with just the fatigue, the stress, the disappointment. We really dissuade people. We try to dissuade people, and sometimes we flat out said no. But there are occasionally clients that insist, and we allow it. But then we watch as they stumble through that 7 days. And we see other people that underplanned their trip, had ample time, and they just enjoyed everything. Well, it rained today, but you know what we did instead? And they just pivot, and they enjoy, and they come away. It was the best trip ever.
Yeah, and that's the reason, to be honest with you. Most of the clients call us for this consultation because they are overwhelmed. They're fatigued and stressed, and they're disappointed in what they're planning, because everyone's coming at them at all different angles. And they get, and that's one of the main reasons. They're overwhelmed, fatigued, and they don't want to disappoint their family more than themselves. It's not about themselves they're worried about, because they plan so many things. Like you plan it, you might be a little disappointed, but you're more worried about everyone that's coming with you. You know what I mean? That's what they're worried about, being that disappointment. Do I pay attention to all these different voices? A lot of this noise. We listen to you only. What do you want out of the trip?
And there's those subtle little modifications, like we talked about, you had to go see Venice, but how do we get you not out of the lagoon completely, but out of the main circuit board where everybody's running back and forth? You go spend the day in Burano, and you're doing you're doing wine tasting, and you're doing a glass blowing class, and you're doing the things that you have to slow down. You can't just go knock it out in an hour. I mean, this is what's great about New York, is you can go there and you can actually knock out a lot of a checklist in an hour, or a couple hours. And you come back at one day in New York and you can get, 3 or 4 or 5 different things marked off your list. Italy is not geared that way. It's not the Big Apple. It's not a messy circuit board. It's slow food, it's slow life, it's dolce vita, but you're not going to see that in that 1% a whole lot. You're going to see that when you take a step out of that messy circuit board, you get off of that beaten path, and you take a look at what's around there, and you slow down. I tell you what, it's a completely different experience. Of all the people we've sent to Venice and they go do that wine tasting or they go do that class, they slow down, they actually enjoy Venice. That's what they come back and talk about. They don't come talk about, I was at the Doge's Palace, I took a picture in my gondola, I did the usual thing. They come back talking about those experiences when they actually slowed down.
Yeah, and you can't slow down if you're there for a day and a half.
You can go to these posh, and I've been these posh Michelin places, and they've got a 16 dish course. They have a 16 meal course, right?
Course, yeah.
And but what are the courses? They're bite size. And this sorbet is to cleanse your palate before this comes out, and so.
But I'm starving still.
And you leave hungry, but you slow down enough that you can actually enjoy more, and so we're talking about emphasizing quality over quantity. And also having that intentional downtime. I mean, we force. I don't. Maybe force is too strong, but we strongly
we put our customers in headlocks.
We strongly encourage people when you have a boat tour scheduled to have a free day on one side or the other of that, because inevitably what happens in certain times of the year, there's, temperature changes and the waves come up and the boats can't go. And so we pivot to one of those free days. Without that free day, it would have been just canceled. You would not have had that experience on that trip. And so having that intentional downtime allows you, and we talked about this some in season 4, that ability to pivot. But what we're saying is in that slower movement through your itinerary, you're actually able to savor and go,
yes,
I like this taste. I don't like this taste, whatever that may be, because you're able to really taste it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a good point about even the boat thing. People don't realize or consider certain things when they build trips or they book trips. And over the years, that's the stuff you learn. Like we talk as a team, and happened to me. I was in Lake Garda, and I realized that I had to change the boat the next day because it was pouring, raining, and it was rough seas. But luckily, because of planning, you can able to move that. And that's little things that you don't realize. But if you're in a town for 5 days, you have some flexibility because you have 3 days. But if you have a day and a half and you have a boat day on that day and a half, well, guess what? You miss your boat. You're probably not getting a refund because it's the day before what you do in a boat. But, you know what I mean, depending on what it is. But yeah, I mean, these are other reasons besides just trying to see everything and saturating, but also planning well. We went back to that in last season too,
Right. So just to put it, kind of distill this little crunchy bit here that we're talking about, if you can create a trip like that, 2 weeks, maximum of 3 different places, you're going to spend longer there. It's going to be a slower ride, but you're going to enjoy it. My mom's passed now, but when I was young, she always took me to Florida to go to Disney. And I remember the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. This is, we're talking 40 years ago. But it was, I remember going back with my children. Yeah. And it was so slow.
Mind-blowing when you were a kid, though.
But mind-blowing when you're a kid because you're drinking it all in. So you're just immersed. Your eyes are wide open and you're drinking it all in, and it's so slow so that you can actually enjoy. So here's the pro tip, all right? And we're going to wrap up here. Here's the pro tip. Take that bucket list, whatever it is, cut it at least in half, and maybe cut it in half again, okay?
Wow, twice.
Add space for spontaneity, and think about getting out of that messy circuit board, the trafficked areas, and hone in on what it is that you really hope to get. If you're going there for an immersive experience in the lagoon of Venice, get out of the central zone and get off into some of the little surrounding islands. Do some fun things, some inspiring things. If you're in Rome, go to, Ostia Antica for that Roman Forum feel, but you're actually walking in the houses where people lived 2,000 years ago. You can't do that in the historic city center of Rome. These are just two analogies of what you could do to have a more immersive experience, but it starts with cutting that list in half.
Yeah, I like the idea too. You were mentioning about the number of days. I would say just use the number 4 as your division. So if you're there 12 days, 3 cities. If you're there 15, you can probably do 4 cities, right? So just think about that and use those as bases. I think using the divisible by 4, I think is the way to go. And when you look at a trip, and I think you're going to enjoy it more, especially Florence and Rome as bases, and even Venice, like Brian just said. You can go to Padua, you can go to Vicenza, you can go to Trieste. There's a lot that you can do that's just a train ride, right? So these are the things that most Americans ain't going to Padua, they're not going to Vicenza, Trieste. So I think it's a great way to apply when you build a trip. If you don't, ask us, we, take that rule of thumb. That's what I would do.
Yeah. If you're not, I'll throw this as bonus. Yeah, this is the bonus round here. If you're in Venice as your base, which I do prefer over, let's say, Padua for a base. Why? Because going into Venice as a day trip tourist is a lot of wear and tear. Having that as your base for 3 or 4 days allows you to take one of those full days and do an excursion, a day trip outside. Go to Padua, go to Verona, go to Ravenna, something else for that change of pace before you completely leave that region. And that's going to give you that ability to feel more grounded, less wear and tear. And it's going to, like a Rome for a base, there's so much to go and see around Rome that nobody ever goes and does. And that's such a shame. And again, we're talking about that 99% that's waiting for you to see. But because you've crammed everything, including the kitchen sink, into your itinerary, you don't have time to see, and you can't enjoy what you are seeing. And I think that's what we'd like people to get away from.
That's a great tagline. Yeah. You can't enjoy exactly. You've seen it, but you're not enjoying it like you should. That's a perfect way to say it. Yeah. All right, good.
Man, all right. Well, thanks for joining us on this journey that we're on, season 5, through Italy's hidden corners, deeper travel. Hey, look, if this series is inspiring you to look past your bucket list and discover the other 99% of Italy, we'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, your stories, questions, your favorite hidden Italy spots, and tag us on social, hit us on the website, send us an email with your questions, podcast@italywithbella.com. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. Leave us a review, a thumbs up, a 5-star, something. It will help us bring more authentic Italy stories to you and to other people who maybe are trapped in TikTok land and Instagram land. Otherwise, they would never be able to travel slower, taste deeper, and let Italy really surprise you. That's what we're after.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, especially Podcast Italy with Bella. We need the feedback. We want to hear the feedback. We are 2 guys. We're building this from, just our conversations. 2 schmucks. But yeah, and we're here for you. Italy with Bella, we have free consultations. It's to me, 90% of the time I'm on that Zoom call, and it's free. And we'll give you input. You don't have to go with Bella at all. It's just the point of, we want to help you have the best experience and, dig a little deeper into what we're talking about today too.
Yeah, that's it. All right. Thank you for your time today. And
thank you,
we will see you soon. Coming up
I will
on the
be
next
clean
episode.
shaven next time too, so I can look good for all my fans.
We will see.
All right, my friend. Ciao.
Ciao for now.
Bella Italy, stay with me. Parla piano, let the heartbeat sing. Bella Italy, vicino a me. I want the life, not the mean.